PenTest Plus, it's an intermediate level cybersecurity certification for people who are tasked with hands-on penetration testing to identify, exploit, report, and manage vulnerabilities on a network. So what it's doing, it's assessing penetration testing skills, but also vulnerability assessment and management skills. We're focusing on those skills necessary to determine the resiliency of a network against attacks. So essentially, a pen tester is an ethical hacker. A pen tester is someone who is usually hired by someone to test a network to find the vulnerabilities in it before the bad actors do. And this job role has really come to importance since about 2012, 2013, and 2014, when we had a lot of our advanced persistent threats come in from nation states throughout the world and prey on the United States in particular. If you all recall the target attacks back in 2013, 2014, the Office of Personnel Management from the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, there has been a lot of hacks that all started. Many people will say around 2013, 2014, the bad actors got as smart as the good actors. And that was bound to happen because of the dark web and the availability of all of these hacking tools that have been stolen and then posted on the dark web, most of them nation state weapons. Like for instance, you can find Armageddon software from the Russians from their Ukraine attacks a few years ago when they took over the, when they invaded Ukraine and took about a third of the country from it. They used this software called Armageddon. And so that Armageddon software appears on the dark web all the time, and you can pick it up and use it. So unfortunately, and due to that reasoning, the penetration testing tools, which are actually used and practiced in this certification, well, they're hacking tools, essentially. And so a penetration tester is really a hacker who has permission. So we could ask ourselves a joke. What is the difference between a penetration tester and a bad actor? Permission. The only difference between a penetration tester is that you've usually gone through a planning and scoping stage and you've talked to whomever you're going to be working with to test their network. So that is essentially, what this is about. It's essentially a certification that is come to fruition just in recent years because of these massive changes we've had in cybersecurity since 2013, 2014. And so now essentially penetration testing skills are needed in IT because we have to be on the offensive. Back in the old days, we could just sit around and create firewall for perimeter security and then put antivirus software in the network. And you were okay. You could actually have a secure network. And, even in the 90s, you could go home with your pager and then come back to the network, if you had to. Now, of course, this is a 24/7 offensive task where you'll often have a security operations center running 24 hours a day. Maybe you have, a team in that of security analysts and penetration testers who are just constantly testing your networks and trying to make sure that they're not weak, and then you could patch any weaknesses you find. So it's a full-time job, and it's full-time offense, and it's being proactive. And that's why penetration testing is so important now. This skill has really become extremely popular just in the past 5 years. Oh, there's one thing I forgot to mention, and that's the key job roles. And that's listed here. So good. The key job roles are penetration tester, vulnerability tester, security analyst, vulnerability assessment analyst, network security operations, and application security vulnerability. Those are some of the jobs that you can find if you type in a penetration tester or ethical hacker or vulnerability assessment and management into Indeed.com, for example, which is a job search tool. We're often asked how PenTest Plus is different because there are other ethical hacking certifications out there. There are other penetration testing certifications out there. CompTIA created this due to an industry demand. That's how we create all of our certifications. It's based on statistics, surveys, data. We've really moved to data analysis, and this came up as one of the biggest skills gaps out there. And so we tried to make our exam unique. And so ours is unique because it has both hands-on performance-based questions as well as multiple choice. Some of the competitors out there that test for pen testing skills, they're actually just multiple choice tests, or they might just be like a 24-hour capture the flag test. Our test is unique in that it's half multiple choice, half performance based. So you actually have simulations on the exam when you're at the Pearson VUE Testing Center that actually require you to do skills required by a penetration tester. So if you were able to pass the penetration testing or PenTest Plus exam, then you've proven your ability with hands-on skills. Another thing is that PenTest Plus, it covers vulnerability assessment and management, and that's really important because the other certifications that cover penetration testing and ethical hacking, they don't cover the vulnerability assessment and management skills. And the reason why our cert covers the vulnerability assessment and management plus penetration testing is because there's actually 3 times more jobs available in vulnerability assessment and management. In fact, penetration testing technically is a tool used by a vulnerability assessment and management professional. And if we take another step back, believe it or not, all of this is categorized under information security analyst by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is there's something called an occupational outlook handbook by the Bureau of Labor Statistics that includes the number of jobs available, and it categorizes job roles. And so it categorizes pen testing under security analyst. That's really amazing, but it makes sense if you look at that large grouping, because penetration testing essentially is one of the skills that a security analyst would use ultimately in order to monitor a network and ensure that it's safe.